My name is Eve Poole, and I've written a book called Capitalisms Toxic Assumptions. But what is a toxic assumption? Well, it's something that we've believed for a long time, which made total sense when we first believed it. But over time, it's just got past its sell-by date. And I think there are quite a lot of those in economics. So here's an example of some flat earth thinking from medicine. Have you ever had a headache? Well, several hundred years ago, if you'd had a headache, you would have gone to the doctor and they would have said, bloodletting is what we need to do with you. And in fact, until the 1920s, the doctors were still prescribing bloodletting for a whole range of ailments like headaches. And the technology got pretty sophisticated. Look at this. This is a scarificator. The way it works is you pull this lever, all the blades come out, you cock it, prime it, bang, get the blood out of you, headache gone. Pretty grim. Luckily, nowadays, if you've got a headache, we just take a pill. That's an example of science changing its mind because the facts have changed. So why is it that economics finds it so very hard to do that? Well, this book takes 7 of the foundational ideas, goes through them one by one, explains why they're past the sell-by date and what we can all do about it. So what are these 7 toxic assumptions? The first one is competition. And as I explain in my book, it's based on some pretty poor maths, and it's also very sexist. The second one is the invisible hand, which is a great myth to make us all leave the market to its own devices. The problem is, if we do that, the market just favours the strong. The third one, utility, really drives us to a sort of ethic which is about gaming the system for our own benefit. And if there is no such thing as the invisible hand, searching for utility is just licensed to do what you like. The fourth one, agency theory, is about how we need to make workers work in the interests of the shareholders, which has driven some very antediluvian HR practices and some very poor practices around stock options. The fifth one is market pricing, the idea that if we leave the market to it, the equilibrium price will be the right price. Now, this ignores really important debates about externalities, about just price, and also about pressure on supply and demand. The sixth one is about shareholder value, the idea that the only strategy of businesses should be to maximise value for the shareholders. But the average time for which a share is now held is around 11 seconds. So who is the shareholder? We're using the shareholder as a Santa Claus figure to try and make everyone behave. The seventh one, limited liability, has a place. But 98% of the companies registered in the UK are limited liability. That's not right. It means professional services firms are only incentivised to service those business models. And we know there's a lot of evidence to suggest they don't always optimise business performance. There are other models which are better and should be encouraged. That all sounds a bit scary, and probably we ought to leave it to the grown-ups to sort out. But I just don't think we've got time to wait. And this book is all about practical ways that we can all start changing capitalism for the better. One of those is about buying locally. The New Economics Foundation found that if you spend £1 in a local business, it's worth £1.76 to the local community. But if you spend that £1 in a national chain, it's only worth 36p because the money doesn't stay locally. Another thing you can do is use your consumer muscle to create whole new markets. Did you know that the humble banana, the fair trade banana, only became a category in 1996? Now 1/3 of all the bananas sold in the UK are fair trade. To give you a sense of that, 3,000 fair trade bananas are eaten every minute. And they do say, if you think you're too small to make a difference, you've never been in bed with a mosquito. So read my book and figure out how you can help as well.